Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Construction Works virtual job fair and informational session. Today, we will be hearing from 5 employers hiring for positions across the construction industry. Each employer will speak to give you some information about their company and will highlight the job openings they currently have. If you have questions at any time, please type them into the chat and we will address them during the Q&A session that will be taking place after all the employers have presented. Today's session is being recorded and will be made available in the employer booths for you to refer to later. Now, I am pleased to introduce Tracy with the Northside American Job Center. Tracy?
Hi, this is Tracy Lane Conway at the Northside American Job Center. I am pleased, as well as my colleague Laura Rodriguez, to present to you some companies as well as training providers that will be telling you about their open positions as well as training opportunities within the construction works industry. Some of these companies you may have heard of before, some may be new to you, but we are very pleased that you're here to participate with us today. So we'll be hearing from Chicago Regional Council of Carpenters Apprentice and Training Program. We'll also be hearing from Walsh-Fluor Design Team, HIRE360 Chicago, and GAF Roofing Academy. And finally, we'll be hearing from Mr. Handyman of Evanston, Skokie, and Willamette. And we'll start off first with the Chicago Regional Council of Carpenters Apprentice and Training Program. Akina? Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. I have some general remarks about apprenticeship in general. We are a training opportunity versus hiring. So we don't hire carpenters, we train carpenters. But I also wanted to just generally say that some of the things that I'm saying about the Carpenters Apprentice Program do apply to the other union construction trades programs in this area. So I'm talking about the carpenters and the crafts under the carpenters, but some of the things that I'm talking about apply as well to the bricklayers, the iron workers, the operating engineers, and other trades under the construction umbrella. Okay, next. Oh, so the video, wonderful. So we can watch the video first and then I'll go into our PowerPoint. Thank you.
I got about 6 apprentices here, all good hard workers. Basically lucky enough to be surrounded by about 18 journeymen.
We're doing exterior framing and then working on the molding and the ceiling grid here.
I did installation of frames too, hollow metal frames.
20 West is the project name. It's a 6-story apartment complex.
I actually started going to school, tried to get a degree in computers, but I realized that what was going to be the best for me was getting a trade, you know, and get a stable job.
I saw how much it was going to take for me to get a school loan, have to be paid off, and how many years before I can actually start making money and learn.
I had just regular jobs before this that weren't going nowhere, so I decided to join this for the great benefits, the career opportunity, and longevity.
I just don't think people realize that the amount of effort and skill that actually does go into the jobs that we do. It's something that more young kids should look into.
And I was kind of working some, part-time jobs. My mother had came across a show, Built to Last. As soon as I turned on the show, I got excited because it was my city that they were showing. I was working a part-time job. There was a guy who was in a pre-apprenticeship program. Gave me the school's number, and it just went from there. The show definitely inspired me, to go after it.
I was a welder for Caterpillar Tractor in the late 70s, and there was a downturn in the economy. But I would hook up with some guys and build houses. Learned enough about the trade to get into it, and worked my way up the ranks, foreman, and then became a superintendent.
Now, your schedule, you started here today on this floor? I became a carpenter, and through the years, I went from carpenter to lead carpenter up to carpenter foreman. I enrolled in the carpenter's training program for superintendent.
The superintendent training program is available to all journeymen and apprentices or foremen or superintendents. It's made by the Association of General Contractors. This is an entry level into becoming a foreman or a superintendent.
How eventually I came into this role was putting a hands-on field experience and then applying the school aspect of it and learning construction management methods and techniques, and then fusing that all together.
I did that out in Las Vegas, took advantage of that. I had a lot of great teachers, past superintendents, owners, and fellow carpenters alike.
In my experience, superintendents come from a carpenter's background. They're builders who understand the process of a structure, whether it's starting in foundation work and then working your way up through the building. Knowing the sequence is very important.
The sky is the limit here. You can, get to be a foreman, a superintendent, who knows, maybe advance in the company even further.
My main goal is to work my way up in their company one day.
Possibly becoming a foreman at some point in time, but one day at a time.
They make you feel like you belong someplace.
It was nice to get an applause from my brothers as I was sworn in. It felt good, made me feel proud to be a local member.
Around here, definitely welcoming. They're always looking for new people, new guys to show the reins to.
As an immigrant, you sometimes feel probably you don't belong somewhere.
Being a part of the union definitely makes me feel like I'm, a part of a brotherhood.
Did a nice job.
I like where I'm at. I like where I'm headed. I know there's still a lot more ahead of me. I feel like I'm growing every day. There's guys that get out fresh out of high school and go to the apprenticeship.
And I actually enjoy going to the training center, for example, and get classes there.
17-foot something.
I mean, who pays you to teach you things?
You start going to the classroom, you start using your skills on the field.
11.4.
Most important is definitely the benefits that comes along with being a union carpenter.
Pension, annuity.
No student debt.
I know people that has been in college for several years, and they are working as servers.
The health benefits, it's all top of the line.
Obviously the pay, it gets better every year, which is always great.
You get to provide, for your family.
I just feel a lot more fortunate being a union worker.
I became a carpenter because I wanted to build a better future and be part of something bigger than myself.
All right, thank you for showing that. So what is a union? This is a union apprenticeship program. We stand for fair wages and safety. Safety is a big part of our training program. We have certain safety class requirements that everybody has to complete before they can actually get out there and work. So skills training and job advancement, we have the skill advancement program that they alluded to a couple times in that video. So not only do we have the apprenticeship where apprentices are required to come for classes, but we have continuing education that's free to all of our members. So we stand for safety, quality, and productivity. That's what a union apprenticeship program stands for. Next slide, please. So what does it take to be successful? Construction is just like any job. It's not for everybody, that's what I'm saying. No job is for everybody. So you need to find out if you're interested in a career as a carpenter, if this trade is good for you. And I like that slide because we deal with heights a lot, and that tells you something about what happens on a construction site. Next slide, please. So to come into our program, you will be required to take a test. So there's a couple of things that you need to know. We're talking math. There is a math portion to our test, but it is very basic math. It is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions and decimals, a little bit of conversion. We do not require that you have that higher math when you come in, but we teach, for instance, trigonometry when we're teaching you how to frame a roof and cut rafters. But you don't need to know that when you come into our program, but you do have to have a good grasp of the basics. So if you're thinking about applying in the future when we are accepting applications, you might want to start right now making sure you review all those basics and are ready for our test. Next slide. So reading skills, there's a lot involved in being a carpenter, from reading blueprints, which are now mostly on tablets, but also schedules and things like that, schedules, directions. So you do not need to know how to read prints to get into our program. It is absolutely not a requirement, but you have to have good reading skills. So there is a reading comprehension portion to our test. Next slide, please. All right, other things. So not just passing the test, but to find out if this is a trade and craft for you. You have to be physically fit. We use a lot of tools. Hand-eye coordination is good. Balance, as I mentioned, we work up high a lot in commercial construction. You saw in that video that those carpenters were wearing fall protection and they were tied off if you go near the outside of a building. Again, that safety that we emphasize. But you do have to have good balance. The next cannot be overrated, communication skills. You have to be able to give instructions, take instructions, follow instructions. When you start out as a first-year apprentice, you're going to be following instructions. So you have to be able to do that and work your way up to giving instructions. And teamwork. No one person builds a building by themselves. We work in crews and we work with the other trades. So you don't have to like everybody you're working with, but you do have to be able to work with other people. You have to be a good team player to be successful in construction. Next slide, please. So these are the crafts under the carpenters. Again, we work with the other trades like bricklayers, ironworkers, electricians, etc. But these different crafts are under the carpenters. So there's general carpentry that works in commercial and residential buildings. Lathers, mostly commercial work. They put the framing in for lath and plaster to be added. Flooring, so commercial flooring carpenters put on finished flooring. That's hardwood, laminates, carpet, and tile. Mill cabinet, those are our carpenters that work with wood and they do a lot of show work. For instance, if you've ever been to the auto show, those displays are created by our mill cabinet carpenters. We have concrete carpenters who do the framing and forming for concrete bridges, decks, large buildings, flooring in the exterior walls for large buildings, as well as every road you've driven across those bridges. That's our concrete carpenters. We have millwrights who work with the transmission of power. They install a lot of heavy machinery. They do conveyor work there. The carpenters that do the most welding probably. And we have pile drivers who install deep foundation work, who install deep foundations for all of the high rises downtown, as well as they work near rivers and any water to hold back the water. So pile drivers. So all of those are different crafts. On our website, which you'll see later, there are videos that show what all of those different carpenters do. So you can see which one is right for you. And you do have to select one because you can only apply for one of our crafts at a time. So it's good to do a little bit of investigation. You got to do a little research to find out which craft under the carpenters you want. Next slide, please. Some of our apprentice programs start out with a pre-apprenticeship. So you would start as a pre-apprentice and then automatically start as an apprentice. It's a 9-week pre-apprenticeship, 5 days a week from 8 to 4 to get all of the basics, including a lot of shop work, a little bit of print reading, a lot of math, but a lot of safety to get you ready to go out to a construction site. So general carpentry, concrete form builders, and mill cabinets have a pre-apprenticeship that lead directly into our apprenticeship. Next slide. These other crafts that we have just have a 4-year apprenticeship. Our floor coverers, actually they work as a helper for a year and then they become a 4-year apprentice floor coverer. The lathers, millwrights, and pile drivers can be sponsored by a contractor or by the local if you don't know a contractor who's ready to hire you. So those are straight 4-year apprenticeships. Next slide, please. So our apprentices work for 3 months and then attend classes for a week. These are required classes. And then they work for 10 months, attend class for a week. So they do that throughout the entire 4 years. We actually, instead of requiring them to pay for tuition, we actually pay our apprentices a stipend as long as they're on time and they attend every day of their week of training. The first 4 classes, we pay them $260 at the end of each week, and then it goes up from there for the second 4 class and then for all their remaining classes. So not only do we not charge tuition for the training that we do, we actually pay our apprentices because they take a week off of work every quarter to come to school. Next slide, please. These are our current wages. We don't want to focus too much on the wages because, again, if this is not the work that you enjoy, you won't be making those wages. Our apprentices are hourly workers, just like carpenters. And I mean, it's a good hourly wage. Our first year apprentices are at 40% of full-scale carpenters. They work for a full year. They take all the classes we schedule them for, and then they bump up to second year pay, 50% of scale. Each year, as long as they maintain on-the-job training hours on construction sites and take the classes they're scheduled for, they get a substantial raise until after 4 years in all the classes, then they're a full journeyman carpenter, and our carpenter scale is just under $50 an hour. Next slide. This is the real benefit, though, for being a carpenter. Our benefits are paid for by contract by our contractors. The union contractors that hire us are our best friends. We want to make them money, make them look good, because they are willing to pay into our healthcare benefits and our retirement benefits. The ballpark is about $36 an hour for every single carpenter and apprentice. The contractor pays into the benefit funds for every hour you work. It is the biggest benefit for being a carpenter to me. So I'm looking forward to retirement, and a pension and annuity really makes a big difference, not to mention healthcare. And I should mention our contractors pay into healthcare that covers not only the carpenter, but their families as well. So my husband and my son, up until he was 26, was covered by my benefits. Next slide, please. So there's a cost difference to going to college, four-year degree from the University of Illinois, and I'm told this is probably a little low, $128,000, assuming you finish in 4 years. From us, a four-year apprenticeship, no tuition at all. You'll pay between $200 and $300 in books fees. Our apprentices buy their own books, but you get paid while you're in class, and of course you get paid by the contractor while you're out in the field. We also have an agreement with Ivy Tech, and we're currently still in negotiations with the City Colleges of Chicago to renegotiate the agreement that we have with them. They are willing to give about 2/3 of a degree to anybody who completes our apprenticeship program. That's an associate's degree. So you get a little bit of college credit by completing your apprenticeship. There is career advancement, and you start out at the bottom. We see everybody at the bottom there as an apprentice, and then you move on up. You can become a journeyman or lead carpenter, foreman, superintendent, a project manager, subcontractor, a contractor, and a company owner. So the sky's the limit, like they said in that video. This is not for everybody. It takes quite a lot to become an owner of a company. We appreciate our union contractors because, again, they help us, we help them. But it takes a lot to become even a superintendent or project manager. But some people have it in them, and they just move up to the top. I mentioned continuing education. We have a skill advancement a program, and all the new technology that's coming out, we want to keep all of that as well as our basic skills. So we train in everything that we do, from framing, metal stud walls, drywall, and all of that, all the way up to the newest technology, robotic total station, where that surveying tool hooks up with a computer and a robot and can lay jobs out. Bluebeam is software that they use for prints nowadays. And so we train our members to use that. And then when they came out with virtual welders, we had to get those as well. It's a very good training tool and a lot cheaper once they're paid for than going straight out to the shop. Of course, all of our apprentices do have to actually weld in shop, but we have a couple of virtual welding machines to get them started before they go out to shop. Our skill advancement program is one of the largest in the country. We have 30 classes that are added in the last 2 years, over 200 classes completed that we have added, and the cost to take a class for any of our members is zero. There's no cost to taking classes once you come into the program. So how do you get in? Well, we accept applications a couple of times a year, and you have to apply when we're accepting applications. Next slide. So there's our website there, www.chicap.org. If you go onto our website and you click on Apprentice Program and then click on Career Path Video, it tells you how to apply in that video. It's about a 15-minute video, and it goes through some things on our website and tells you what to do while you're waiting to become a carpenter. So again, the website and that under Apprentice Program there, the Career Path Video. Some of our basic requirements: you have to be at least 17 years old to apply. You have to be 18 to work on a construction site, but you can apply as a senior in high school. You have to have a high school diploma or GED, Social Security card. You must be physically fit to work as a carpenter. We make you get a statement from a doctor saying that you're physically fit. And yes, we still have a drug test. Some of our contractors drug test as well. So if you're going to make the decision to get into the construction trades, you're making a decision to be drug-free. Further requirements: you have to be a member of one of our 10 counties to attend our apprenticeship program. There are apprenticeship programs, apprentice schools across the country, across the United States, but we cover those 10 counties listed there. You have to have a valid Illinois driver's license or state ID. You don't need to have a driver's license to get into our program, but we do cover those 10 counties. So it's critical that you have, a driver's license and a working vehicle in order to really be successful. Otherwise, it'll be difficult to work 12 months out of the year without a driver's license. You have to have a sponsorship letter from a local or contractor, and that's in that video I just spoke about, and it costs you $25 to apply. When we do open up for applications, we advertise in newspapers, etc., but we contact our local unions. So the video on how to apply talks about how to get your name on the list of a local union. So you'll need to watch that video. You do have to appear here in person to apply, and then you'll be notified of when to come and take our test. I do want to point out that we are all over social media. So there are links on our website for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. A lot of videos of our apprentices working and things like that are on those websites. So when you're doing your research to find out if this trade is for you, you definitely want to go through the videos. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Leonards. I am part of the diversity and inclusion team for the Walsh-Fluor design build team, who is working on the CTA RPM Phase 1 project. That is a reconstruction of some track and also some stations on the north side of Chicago, specifically focusing on the red and purple tracks that go up through there. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So the RPM project, I think a lot of you have probably heard about it, but if not, I'm going to go over kind of a brief synopsis of what it is and what we're doing there. So CTA let out the RPM work, and Walsh and Fluor, which Walsh is a local Chicago contractor and Fluor has a lot of experience in these joint venture projects, along with Stantec, who is a designer, have all partnered together in order to create up this conglomerate of a team in order to build out the RPM project. So along with Walsh and Fluor, already I think we have close to 100 subcontractors on the project, and we're only about halfway done with letting out our work. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, not just only with Walsh-Fluor for employment, but also with all of our subcontractors. We can't build the job by ourselves. We need a lot of help from a lot of subs, and a lot of these subcontractors have specialties that include carpentry and pile driving, which is a division of the Carpenters, operators, painters, plumbers. All the trades are going to be utilized on this project. So we really look forward to seeing participation from all the different trades. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the RPM project is the largest in CTA history. It is a design build, which means that it wasn't fully planned out before it was let out and awarded to a contractor, which is why we have a designer. So for about since 2018, our team has been working and designing in partnership with Stantec the actual project and how we're going to build it out. And it consists of 4 major project areas. So the RPM project is huge in itself, but there's kind of 4 projects that are going on simultaneously. I'm going to delve deeper into each of those sections in the next few slides, but you can see some of the pictures on the screen here of new columns that we've built. And then you can see a rendering of the track structure that we're going to build. And then also what we need to do to get ready in order to be prepared to do all of these improvements on the project. So if you could go to the next slide. So the red purple bypass, what our team likes to call RPB, is the reconstruction of the Belmont Station tracks. I don't know if anybody has ridden on those tracks, but the brown and the red line intersect. And so a lot of times during rush hour, you're going to have trains that are stopped and you're going to have kind of traffic jams that go on. So what CTA would like done is those brown line tracks to be built up and over the existing red and purple tracks so that traffic never stops. You just keep going. So that's what we're doing right there. In addition to that, another part of it is that North Main Line track. So the red and purple track that goes beyond that traffic jam area, we're replacing a lot of that track work, and that's coming up pretty soon here. We can go to the next slide, please. This is what we've already done on the red and purple bypass section, the RPB section. So we've drilled new foundation holes and also set some of these columns to hold the steel. So you can see the progression from left to right on your screen. That's us drilling the holes. That's those foundations being poured. That's now several foundations that have been poured and the columns are set. And then the last one is the steel that's being set here. So the trades that are needed to do all this work are operators to operate the heavy machinery, carpenters, pile drivers, iron workers to tie the rebar cages and also to set the steel there, laborers to help with all of the other work that's going on underneath. So it's a really complex project which requires a lot of participation from a lot of different trades. So if you're interested in construction and interested in the trades, it's a really great opportunity to kind of really submerge yourself in a project that encompasses a lot of different work that's going on. If we can go to the next one, please. So the pre-stage work is work that needs to be done in order to allow us to do the actual work. So it's sort of setting up the party, so to speak. So we've needed to tie some tracks over because we're going to be working on all the train tracks at the same time. So we needed the trains to be able to jump from track to track. And so that's some of the work that's been done here. In addition, we're updating some of the signal houses, which again, that's electricians and different trades that are all working together. Electricians, carpenters, operators are all performing those functions. So they're all working together. And then we're also building out some temporary stations. So we're going to be closing down the LBMM, which is the Lawrence to Bryn Mawr modernization portion of the project. We are shutting down a few of the stations, so we need to build temporary ones so that people can still access the stations during construction. We want to jump to the next slide. I can show you some of these pictures. So the Bryn Mawr temp station, that's going to be a temporary access. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Northside, but that we tore down an old Toyota car sales lot, and we're building a temporary shelter there. The Montrose Signal House, you can see they have it elevated up there and they're dropping it down onto the tracks themselves. Thorndale interlocking, that is those tracks being built so that they can kind of connect and the trains can go from one to the other. And so we never have to stop traffic of the trains during the project. And then the Montrose interlocking, hopefully you can see that the tracks are crisscrossing, and that's a picture of all those tracks kind of integrating together. Next, yeah, thank you. So LBMM, as I mentioned, is the Lawrence to Bryn Mawr modernization. And it's those 4 stations north of Wilson, Lawrence, Argyle, Berwyn, and Bryn Mawr that are all going to be torn down to the bottom and built back up. So a lot of opportunity for carpenters, laborers, operators, ironworkers, cement masons, plumbers, painters, everybody is going to be working on this project. And so it's a really great opportunity for you to jump into the trades, even if you're not there yet, because this is a multi-year project. It's going to be lasting, as you can see on the picture here. 20 to 22 is when we're doing the temporary station construction. 23 to 24. So, I mean, it's only 2020. We've got 4 years left. There's a lot of opportunity for you to get into the trades, get in your apprenticeship, and maybe even journey out and become a journey person on this project. So we're really excited for the opportunities here. Next. All right. So this is some of the track structure that's going on at the LBMM portion. As you can see, the trades that are going to be utilized are operators, laborers, and carpenters. It's just taking down the old structure that was built almost 100 years ago, and not saying that it's not good, it lasted 100 years, but we want to build a new structure that's going to last another 100 years. Next slide. And again, here's the existing platforms. All these trades that you can see on the screen here are going to be used here, in addition to many more. These are just kind of the overview. So many trades are going to be used here. It's a great opportunity to get into construction on this project. But you can see the existing platforms are really narrow and the canopies only cover a little bit. What we're going to do is expand that all out to be able to house more individuals waiting for the trains. If you want to go ahead to the next slide, please. So I just want to reiterate how long this project is and how much opportunity there is on the project. There are some workforce goals that CTA has issued, and our team, the diversity and inclusion team, really works closely with HIRE360, who's going to be presenting next, and Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, who the Northside American Job Center is in relation to. So we work all together in order to make sure that people have plenty of opportunity and enough time to get introduced to these trades in order to be able to work on the project. This is just the top. This is the tip of the iceberg. So laborers, carpenters, operators, ironworkers, teamsters, which are truck drivers, electricians, cement masons, painters, elevators and escalators, plumbers, HVAC. There's so many different opportunities on the project. So if you're interested in construction, if you're interested in the trades, it's a wonderful opportunity because, like Kina said just before me, you earn while you learn. You're always earning a wage as you're an apprentice on a construction project. We are a union company, so you would have to be part of the union. You would have to get into an apprenticeship in order to apply and to work on this project. But there are so many people and so many partners who are working together for the success of the individuals applying that there's a lot of opportunity for you. So if you are interested, if you're existing in the trades right now, I would encourage you to email your resume to Tracy, and I think she's going to drop her email in the chat function to everybody. If you want to email your resume to Tracy, she and I are going to work together specifically for this event in order to help people kind of get more information about this project in specific, but not only just for Walsh-Fluor, but also for our contractors as well. There's going to be ample opportunity from a lot of different contractors. If you could go to the next page, that would be great. This is my final slide. So as Kina mentioned before, there are specific measurements or not measurements, but requirements for each union. And here's the top ones that our project is focusing on. Carpenters, electricians, both Local 9 and Local 134, laborers, ironworkers, and operators. Those are going to be the trades that are hitting most of the hours on our project, but there are plenty of opportunities for others as well. And here's kind of a brief overview of what that application looks like, what you need in order to apply, and when those are open for you to freely apply. So this is on our project website, which as you're emailing Tracy your resume, we're going to get in contact with you and send you to our project website so that you can get more information if you need. But I just really encourage, if you're part of the unions already, please connect with Tracy in order to make sure that your resume gets into consideration, you get in contact with us. And then secondly, if you're not part of the trades, please email and get information if you're interested, because it's a really great opportunity no matter what specialty you choose, whether it be carpenters or any of the myriad of others that are available. It's a really great opportunity for you to have a career, earn while you learn, and then work your way up a ladder. So I see there's a lot of questions in the chat function, so I'll be kind of messaging people, but thanks guys. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Kate. And I just do want to take an opportunity right now, since we've already had 2 employers who have presented. If you do have any questions for anyone that is presenting here today, please feel free to enter your questions into the chat. We will address them during the Q&A session that will be taking place after all employers have presented. Thank you so much, Kate. Next up, we have HIRE360 Chicago. Anthony and Ashley, are you both ready to present?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Anthony Green. I'm a recruiter and case manager at HIRE360. Today, I am accompanied by Ms. Anna Maria, who will be working in our chat room, and also Ms. Ashley Nicholson will do a short presentation as an industry representative at the end of my presentation. I do want to start off by saying also thank you to Ms. McAfee and also to Ms. Lenertz for your wonderful presentation. It was a very good presentation, and thank you very much. So as I present my presentation, there's a short video that I'd like to present for everyone to see. And basically, I would like to say that be listening to some of the buzzwords in our video, and we can talk about it at the end of the presentation. Go ahead, please start.
The goal with HIRE360 is to connect community members with careers. The main benefit we offer to community members is really sort of demystifying the trades. There's a need to get more people in as folks are retiring.
So HIRE360 is unprecedented to support small and emerging minority and women-owned businesses.
Our contractors, our unions, and our developers together raising over $750,000 in one evening to develop these credit lines for these businesses.
Get all these contractors and developers together and put their money together. All of you all are contributing right now to help these guys to get loans to start their own business.
HIRE360, I think it's a wonderful initiative. In order to create jobs, you have to have businesses that have the viability and the financial strength to compete.
Guys from the neighborhood are just as capable. If you get them an opportunity to grow, they will grow.
You will see immediate results from this. The very next day, these guys are going to be more profitable and be able to hire more people.
I am engaging with the community to ensure that they are aware of the project, Lincoln Yards, which is a 53-acre development.
There's never been this many mega projects. You have Related Midwest 78. Farpoint is working on the Michael Reese site.
HIRE360 is going to give us an opportunity to train more people in the construction industry so that they can become a part of the union and so that we can keep the construction industry alive with union workers right here in the city of Chicago.
So it is a what?
We'll help people with curriculum they need to pass tests, become part of the union, if you have transportation needs.
What we want is that not just a career change, but generational change in the communities that need it the most. Historically, it's been the South Side and the West Side, and they haven't had options to all these different career paths.
The moment is now for us to start thinking more about diversity and inclusion and being intentional about it.
So the first thing people should do is go to HIRE360Chicago.com, fill out that assessment form, let us know what their interests are so we can get you connected into one of the building trades programs right away.
Thank you very much. We just had a little slight problem with the video, but thank you very much. One of my favorite buzzwords in that presentation is the time is now for diversity, as well as if you give a person a chance. It says something about you give a person a chance, they can grow. So those are some of my favorite buzzwords. So our mission statement at HIRE360 is to expand employment opportunities, recruiting, training, and placement assistance. We want to connect area youth, underrepresented populations, and local residents with job inspiration and opportunities. I always like to take a quick pause and ask, what are the underrepresented populations? Well, of course, that's us. That's people who low income, women and minorities. We want to get them into the construction industry to serve as a common front door for unionized apprenticeships in Chicago. Next, please. What makes HIRE360 different? This is a very important slide. What makes us different is that we are with unions, apprenticeship schools, and hiring companies. We are all intertwined together to reach that goal of getting underrepresented populations into the construction industry. Next, please. These are just some of our partners. Briefly, what I want to say about them is each of these entities are over 100 years old. And so we got some very, very great partners. Next, please. So Ms. Lenertz spoke about the Walsh-Fluor, and here it is right here. We are partnering with the CTA. Thank you, Ms. Lenertz, for bringing that up. The HIRE360 is partnering with the CTA and Walsh-Fluor Design Build team on the red and purple modernization project. These program candidates may be considered for available positions on this project as they become available. And as Ms. Lennertz mentioned, it's a 5-year project, so the opportunities are there for all of us and those who are interested in the construction industry to be part of that project. We partner with developers, contractors, and construction buyers across the city to find opportunities. Next slide, please. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Anthony, I have moved forward 2 slides. I don't know if it's showing up on your screen or not.
It is not.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. That one, it just moved. Why now? The question may be, why get into the construction industry now? Can you move back 1 slide on that? I wanted to talk about why now. The previous slide.
Yes, I've just moved back.
Okay, so thank you very much, Daniel, for your assistance. The question is why now? Why get into the construction industry now? Because right now, the answer is because the construction industry is experiencing tremendous growth. I'm not sure if you heard in the video, but also one of the reasons why it's a great time to get into the construction industry. We have many people retiring. We have people in the construction industry that's been there 25 years, 30 years, and it's going to create a big gap for openings for new people to come in. So it is experiencing tremendous growth based on a lot of people retiring. Next, there is a $20 to $40 billion construction projects within the next 10 years. And I say billions with a B. There are going to be some tremendous, enormous, huge projects in the Chicagoland area. You may have heard our executive director mention that he's never seen so many mega projects in the Chicago area at one time. And that's exactly what's going on in the Chicago area right now. These huge, gigantic projects for many workers to get into this trade. But the thing I want to just really say, not just jobs, we want to get you a career. We want to get you a career in the trades. We just don't want you to have a job. We want you to get a career earning $40 plus, $50 plus within the next 5 years. Usually you start off as an apprentice, but then as you become a journeyman or a journeywoman, you can make up to $40 an hour, $50 an hour, $60 an hour. It was mentioned earlier in one of the slides from Ms. McAfee about the benefits in the construction industry. I don't think that's really talked about enough. There's tremendous healthcare benefits in the construction industry. We were told, just for instance, some of those people that are retiring, some of those workers that have been retiring for 25 years and 30 years, they have pensions for over $500,000 in their pension, over $750,000 in their pension. So we want to share that with people. People don't know that, but this is a great time. And historically, the underrepresented groups are positioned to seize on these careers. Thank you. Next slide. How do you start a career in construction? Well, first of all, to work in a union job site, you must be a union member. Most union members start by joining their apprenticeship programs. There are over 30 different apprenticeship programs, each with their own trade, associated skills, and application process. And we here at HIRE360, we want to help you pick a pathway to the construction trades. Next slide, please. These are just a couple of pictures about the construction industries. You can get into carpentry, you can get into welding or pipe fitting. That other picture on your right is heating and frosting. And also, of course, that last obvious picture, that person is a roofer. Next slide, please. From your left to your right on those arrows, you can see where it starts with apprenticeship. It's an intensive training application. Apprenticeships last from 2 to 5 years, just like someone mentioned before about the degree in college. Well, we call it the other 4-year degree. It was mentioned that if you go to colleges, you have to pay student loans, but in the trades, you do not pay student loans. There's no prior experience required. Full-time work combined with some classroom training, and apprenticeship programs provides work or job referrals. Now, from your left to your right, you can see you start off as an apprentice and you become a journey worker. You become a master of the trade. A journey worker is an expert trade worker that graduated from an apprenticeship program. But here's the key to the success for the construction industry. Most journey workers come back and train the apprentices. So once you become an apprentice and then you become a journey worker, your job is to go back and train an apprentice so they can become what you are. So that's how the construction industry works. And they have full scale wages. Next slide, please. This is an important slide, but what's the work like? If you are going to get into the construction industry, you must know that it's not cute, It's not pretty. It's a very, very hard, demanding, dirty industry. That's what construction is. Sometimes you have to work in all weather, all seasons. You have to work at heights and ladders and cranes on new buildings in small spaces such as inside or underground. Also, a lot of people may not know, but you need to know that the construction industry is project-based. What does project-based means? That means that when the project is over, your job is over. That's exactly what project-based employment means. So sometimes you have to move between projects. You have early mornings. You may have to work late at night. Sometimes you have to frequent travel to different job sites. You may be working in Chicago one day, and 3 weeks from now, you may be working in Joliet, Illinois. So a reliable vehicle is really required. And here's something that's very important. You have to have strict attendance. The construction industry really relies on each other to make sure that they be at work every day. Next slide, please. Here are some of the basic requirements. Now, these are not HIRE360 requirements, but it was mentioned earlier about the requirements. These are the basic requirements of the construction industry. You have to be 18 years or older. You have to have a driver's license. You have to have a high school diploma or GED. You have to prove that you're legally authorized to work in the United States with a birth certificate or a U.S. passport or nationalization card. You have to have a Social Security card. They were mentioning about application fees earlier. Sometimes application fees will go from $25 to $50, maybe even to $100. But one thing about HIRE360, we do have a program where we reimburse you for all fees that you have paid. So we have what's called HIRE360 services, and we can reimburse you on those type of expenses. It was also mentioned about the ability to pass a drug test. It is very, very vital that you understand in the construction industry, there's zero tolerance of any type of drugs. I know sometimes we have, right now, there's legalized marijuana in the state of Illinois, but please know and understand that the construction industry does not tolerate drugs. Next slide, please. Background checks. Now, this is pretty good for people who may have had a background. We want you to understand that the construction industry are very welcoming to people who once had backgrounds. Most apprenticeship programs do not run background checks. However, there are some contractors that work on different job sites like banks, government facilities, and schools. They may be required to run a background check because of the federal requirements. But historically, there are about 25% to candidates and 33% of all placements self-attest to having some type of record. Next slide, please. How is admission determined? So most apprenticeship programs, they do require that you pass an aptitude test. And I'm very glad we kind of stopped at this slide because most people don't know to get into these construction trades, one of the first things you do have to pass an aptitude test. It was said earlier by Mrs. McAfee again about the value of trying to learn math and increasing your math and reading. Well, that's exactly true. To get into these trades, you must pass an aptitude test. So most programs candidates are giving scores based on two factors: a construction aptitude test, sometimes personal experience. Candidates are ranked based on scores. If 20 apprenticeships are needed, candidates ranked from 1 to 20 will be offered positions. So what does that mean? That means that they are going to take the people with the highest scores on these aptitude tests. Next slide, please. Experience not always required. Some programs, but not all, look at experience. Helpful experience, direct experience in the trade or industry, relevant credentials, welding certifications, OSHA training, CDL-A licenses, college degrees, military service, and trade courses in college and high school. So I encourage everyone who is listening on the presentation, if you do have these credentials, please indicate these on your resume. I found out many of our clients sometimes, they have all these viable trades, all these viable credentials, and they don't even include it on their resume. So I'm asking everyone under the sound of my voice, please make sure that you put all your trades and all your experiences, everything about yourself on your resume, because it does help. Next slide, please. Here are HIRE360 services. Next. HIRE360 supports. We mentioned HIRE360 helps navigate candidates through the application process. We do pre-testing and test prep based on real apprenticeship tests, career exploration, and resources to help you pick a trade, individualized review of your skills and experiences. We do comprehensive planning to help you navigate through your barriers. Now, what are barriers? Of course, barriers are anything to stop you from being the best you can be. We're going to help you get through those barriers. We're going to help you knock down those barriers. We want to connect you to work, networking opportunities, and resources to help you start a new career. Next, please. apprenticeship prep classes. We do a 20-hour series of classes on career prep for construction, introduction to construction trade careers, comprehensive test prep, resume revision, interview prep, preparing for the first day on the job, networking and succeeding in the trades, and apprenticeship training center tours. That's what we do. Prior to COVID-19, we did do some touring of manufacturing before COVID-19, and so we can get a direct view of what how apprenticeships work. I just want to really also real pause on the value of interviewing. We do help you with your interviewing prep, because if you don't have the skills to interview, you will not get a job. I think that's not emphasized enough. We want to make sure that you have the interviewing skills when you do walk into that interview, that you get that job. Next slide, please. Returning trade workers. We work with returning trades for successfully placed candidates, are candidates who also have union cards. These are considered returning trade workers. Again, we help identify job opportunities with them. Once again, resume writing, interview prep and mock interviewing, and networking support. Next slide, please. So HIRE360 can help you understand the construction industry. We want to help you pick a trade. We want to apply for apprenticeship programs. Once again, we want to help you navigate through your barriers, and we want to get you started in the career. My email is agreen@hire360chicago.com. That will be posted in the chat room. Once again, I want to thank you for your time, for letting me do this presentation. And Ashley Nicholson, our industry rep, would take the next slide. Thank you very much again. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Anthony. So I'm going to speak just briefly about the latter half, second half of the process that Mr. Green alluded to, because my team works directly with the contractors and the subcontractors. The CTA, whom we've heard of, wonderful partner, GAF Roofing, whom we'll hear from, to find jobs that are a good fit for individuals that we work with in our programming, hopefully some of you on the call today. So I'll look at what happens next. Say you've already reached out to be a part of the programming that Mr. Green so thoughtfully laid out. There's a form online, that assessment form, that's the first step. Okay, so your case manager would stay in touch. You'll go through the next steps depending on where you are in that process. And that's why that assessment form is so important, because it just gives the team a sense of where you're at, whether you are a current cardholder, whether you're early in the exploration process, but you're just interested in the trades. So for those at the first stage, you want to join a new trade. So the sponsorship process or joining an apprenticeship will look different, and will help to make sure all your bases are covered, from fees to your resume if need be, test prep to get into the apprenticeship school with the Carpenters, for instance. To make sure you're set to go. So the team that I work with, just to help visualize, we work to confirm opportunities to join subcontractors or contractors in some cases that will essentially take you on as an apprentice while you're receiving training from your union. The process looks different depending on each trade. But we will walk you through that, and then find a contractor that can help start that career to get the hours that you'll need that you would learn about with your local. I don't know if we have any current cardholders on the line, but for those that are returning trades folks, you're already a pro. So, you know, the tests are already done. You probably have a resume. We'll work with the self-performing contractors and subs to establish the roles that are right for you as experienced trades folks, and where we could just plug you in. That'll be a good fit. And so Mr. Green kind of alluded to this in the beginning, but it's really the ties with the employers, both unions and subcontractors, that's pretty crucial, and we think can help to fill the gap from what's been in the past. So for the pre-apprentice individuals, we'll work with you and your locals to help create the smooth transition. For the current card holders, it's going to depend on the local. Of course, you know that ironworkers are different from electricians, who are different from laborers, but we work with with the contractors aligned with your halls to adhere to the business agent's process to get you back to work, to complement those efforts that they're already doing. So um, just a couple of tips I want to recommend. I think I have another minute to stay in touch with your case manager. If you're working with HIRE360, they're really going to be a really great resource for you. And I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of them really closely, daily, virtually. But they're an incredible resource. So stay in touch with your case manager, and then your resume. It's different in the construction industry from maybe other sectors, but that's going to help us advocate for you. Have it ready. I've had multiple job developers tell me that resumes should really be specific to that role. So when you hear us kind of reiterate that, it's because that's what the employers are looking for, and that helps to essentially sell your case as why you're the perfect fit for their team and what's going to make you a good choice. And lastly, I want to advocate for you. So the case managers help me to do that, and the recruiters help us to understand what's going to be a good fit for you, what certifications you have, and of course, what trade we're going to plug you into. So again, you've heard this several times, but Anthony, Mr. Green, and I will put our information into the chat here. All of these resources here on the call are great partners, so we'll look forward to hearing from you. And Daniel, I think that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you as well to Anthony for your wonderful, thorough presentation. If anyone does have any questions for the HIRE360 team, we are going to have a Q&A session after all of the employers have presented, so please feel free to enter any questions that you have into the chat section, and we'll get those answered for you. Next up, we have GAF Roofing Academy. Wesley, are you available to present?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Give me one moment to get to your presentation and we can begin.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wesley Jobs. I'm the program manager for the GAF Roofing Academy. We are a training opportunity as well as a connection for employment in the roofing industry. So if you're looking to get your foot in the door in the roofing industry and kind of start a new trade, it's not an apprenticeship or anything like that. But it's just a new path to a new career within the roofing industry. And I'll talk about those career paths that are available after you graduate from our program as well. Next slide, please. So this is a video. It'll just kind of give you an idea of what the training looks like within the classroom and then what the students have to say. So we'll go ahead and play that video.
Welcome to the Roofing Academy. We're glad to have you guys here. This is our second session with Job Corps. We're really happy to have you. We're going to be here for 2 weeks. We're going to be learning about residential roofing, commercial roofing, safety, and some soft skills. So maybe some business skills, estimating, and learning how the business runs. So everything you do will apply to what you need when it's time to go out into the workforce. Okay? So let's head out into the training center and we'll begin. So we'll go over the harness first, then we'll go over some of the other safety equipment that we have on the table, and then we'll start to practice and get up on the deck.
My name is Ricky Gass. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and I'm 23 years old. But the Roofing Academy gave me 10 times more inspiration. It lets me know that all the hard work that I'm putting in, it pays off, you know? And I'm just grateful to be here. The staff is so professional. You can tell that they actually want to help and that they actually want to teach us and train us and certify us, and it's just a great feeling.
So my name is Jabal Antoinette Mollett. I'm 22 years old. GAF came to my campus about 3 or 4 weeks ago, looking to take in some kids to teach them about roofing and solar panels, and I was the lucky few that was able to come.
When we talk about a solar cell, is this tiniest component that generates energy, and these panels, once they're assembled, slides right into that.
It's amazing. It truly is amazing. It's a great experience. I wanted something new to get my hands going, and this is definitely it. You learn so much, and I've learned enough that I feel like I can go out there and start my own business. Oh, it's amazing. How they're teaching me, it makes me feel like you can learn anything by how they're teaching. They're very calm, they're considerate, they're pacing, they know what to say and how to say it. They're very calm with everything. They're not really pushing you. If you don't know it yet, then that's okay, because they're going to teach you it no matter what. This is a class that even if you're asleep, you'll learn something, guaranteed, because of how they're teaching.
And this is TPO. It's thermoplastic polyolefin is what TPO stands for, but it's basically plastic. I'm just going to show you a quick demo of it. I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so once it's up to speed and heat, I'm going to simply engage it. It automatically welds the two pieces together.
The Roofing Academy is here to train labor in the roofing industry to get them into the workforce to help alleviate the labor shortage in America right now. We offer the classes for free. The incentive is a certificate. You know, being certified by GAF is really a feather in one's cap. And you know, they come, they learn on a real roof deck, and we feed them, you know. So it's a good 2-week program.
Okay, thank you for playing that, Daniel. So that just gives you an idea of what it's like inside of our classroom and working with our trainers. So who are we? Not everyone knows who GAF is. We are the largest roofing and waterproofing business in the world. We've been around for a very long time. We're owned by Standard Industries, who also has sister companies. So if you do get in with the roofing industry, there's lots of opportunities that kind of spread out that are associated with GAF in the roofing industry. This is a picture of just some of our trainers right there. And then, you know, one of the class that graduated from the Job Corps in New Jersey. Next slide. And what do we offer? So currently we're offering our Roofing Academy. And this is typically a 2-week class. Prior to COVID, we were all hands-on 100% of the time. And now we have done 1 week virtual and 1 week hands-on after COVID, and also obviously smaller groups to maintain social distancing and sanitizing, things like that. But we're still continuing to train nationwide. And you can see here, so we have the certificates that we give at graduation on the last day of class. And then we also have what's called GAF Work Belt, which is a career platform. It's like an Indeed or a LinkedIn. And when you graduate, you will create your profile, put your resume on there, and you can search for jobs, connect with employers in your area or wherever you're looking for employment. And this is within the roofing industry, like I said. So after you graduate, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a roofer. You might find out like, oh, I don't really, you know, being on that roof all day is a lot. But maybe you're looking to work for a distribution company or a Home Depot or a Lowe's and selling it right after you learn about the roofing materials and know what you're talking about. So there's lots of opportunities in that, but you get to be a part of that work belt after you graduate from our training program. Next slide, please. Where are we located? We're all over nationwide. We have hubs in Texas, Chicago, New Jersey, California, Washington. And we've also done training classes this year, even with COVID, in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Kansas, and even Arizona. And that's just based on demand. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Daniel, please. So when do we offer? This kind of goes into when do we offer our training programs. Again, we're doing this to make sure that there's skilled roofing labor and people going into those careers in the industry. So we offer it based on demand, and that could be a contractor or an employer saying, hey, I would like to hire 10 people. Can we do a class? I'll host it. And, you know, we do all the training and for free, and I recruit the students. So it depends on the market. Obviously, like in December and January, it's gonna be colder and slower. Roofing isn't as big in certain areas. But like California, they roof all year round, definitely. So it's a little bit easier to do training there year round. But we recently did a class here in Texas, all, you know, women's crew. So it just depends on the demand. This is our job matrix, and it's also on our website. And this is something we cover on the first day of class, whether it's virtual or hands-on. We talk about the different career opportunities. So you could start off as a laborer, but then you can move to a delivery driver. You could become a foreman. We've had graduates start their own companies. Some went into estimating and sales. Some people went into insurance. And, you know, or some became installers, junior installers, or even project managers for like solar panels and things like that. So there's lots of opportunities. Don't think you're just going to be a roofer for the rest of your life, because it would be a hard thing to keep up. Like some of the other presenters have said, it's demanding. It's physically demanding, and you have to be there on time every day, willing to work in rain, wind, heat, anything. So the requirements for our program is that you're 18 or older. There is no education requirement, just that you can comprehend and read, just so we can make sure that the safety standards are met and that you're safe on the roof and in our training, of course, and that you're eligible to work in the US, because our success is based on employment. So my job after you graduate is to make sure that we find you employment, wherever that may be within the roofing industry. Next slide. I think that's it. So I'll take any questions as well at the end of the presentation or within the chat box. And thank you guys for your time.
Thank you so much, Wesley, for your presentation. And as she stated, if you do have any questions for GAF Roofing Academy, please enter those into the chat box and we will get those answered for you during the Q&A session after all presenters have presented. Next up, we have Mr. Handyman with Jeff Baden. Jeff, are you available to present?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you for attending and for letting me make this presentation to you. I want to talk a little bit about Mr. Handyman. You may not be familiar with it, so I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about who we are, and then get into the kind of person who we're looking to hire. So, next slide, please. Okay, so who is Mr. Handyman? We provide a variety of handyman services for maintenance and repair, primarily of residences, though we do some commercial work as well. And there are a lot of companies that do this. Mr. Handyman is a franchise organization, and we have actually 5 locations in the Chicago area. So I'm with Mr. Handyman of Evanston, Skokie, and Wilmette. So we're in the near North Shore, but there are other locations as well. There's one in the far North Shore suburbs, going up all the way almost to Wisconsin. There's another Mr. Handyman group in the city that has the loop and goes through the north side up until about Foster. And then we have another Mr. Handyman franchise in the western suburbs, and then one in the southwestern suburbs. So we cover a lot of the area. And so depending on where you live, there may be different opportunities with different franchises, but I can, if you're interested in one besides Mr. Handyman of Evanston, Skokie, and Wilmette because of where you are, and I can certainly get you in touch with the appropriate franchise. Each of us is individually operated and owned, and there are actually 130 of us across the United States and Canada. But what that means is that we're our own business. We're part of a larger group, but we make all our decisions locally as far as who we're going to hire and what kind of jobs we're going to do, what systems we use to support us, et cetera. And the last point I wanted to make was about the people who we have working for us. They're all employees. Many handyman groups have independent contractors who come in. So if they need someone for plumbing, they'll hire a plumber, et cetera. But we have people who do sort of jack of all trades approaches to covering what our customers' needs are. And by having full-time employees, we believe that we can control the quality of the work and make it higher for our customers in the end. And what that allows us to do is we actually offer a 1-year guarantee on all of our work. So if we do something and then customer needs us to come back within a year because something isn't just quite, we'll come back and we'll fix it on us and we'll charge the customer. So that's sort of at 20,000 feet who Mr. Handyman is. Next slide, please. What we do for our customers is we solve problems, okay? And I have 4 examples here of the types of work that we do. And the first one is the deck, and we power wash it. We repair boards that need to be, new boards that need to be put in or just nailed down, and then we stain it and seal it. And the result, I think, is something that makes it a lot nicer for the homeowner to enjoy their deck. We have another example there in the bottom left-hand corner of a shower. We put in a new shower head, a flexible shower head, grab bars, new grout, and new caulk as well. And so just make it look a lot nicer and have it be a lot more functional so that there's no water dripping down to the level below in the house. Next is an exhaust fan. This is kind of a simple one, but it's a great example of something that we do that's small. It's a quick job, but it adds a lot of value to the customer where we're moving the exhaust fan and then either replacing it or just cleaning it. And that way condensate doesn't form in the bathroom when the person is taking a shower and impact the paint and anything else in the bathroom that might be negatively affected by that. And then lastly, another outside job that we did where we scraped and painted the roof, if you will, of a bay window. And so the common theme here is it's all focused on the customers. It's all individual jobs for those customers. They tend to be anywhere from a few hours to a few days, and they offer meaningful improvements for our customers. Next slide, please. We think we do okay on this. We get good ratings from the major review boards out there that our customers talk about. So the four that I have here are Google My Business, Home Advisor, Better Business Bureau, and Angie's List, who you might have obviously heard of before. And the point is that the business is built on repeat customers, and we have to have done good jobs for customers in order for us to get that. And so that's why we really need people who have a variety of skills who can handle different things for our customers' needs. We also, in addition to getting information through these boards, we also email through a third-party service each and every customer the next day after the job. And we ask them how we did. We ask them to rate us on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely would they be to refer us to a family member or a friend? And we get high marks on that. We're typically above 80% in a given month for those marks. So it's important to be able to do those jobs well. Next slide, please. Just to get into a little bit more specifics, and I'm not going to go through this slide and one by one each box, but I just wanted to sort of communicate that there really is a variety of needs that our customers have, depending on where they are in their house, that we can address. So whether that means it's caulking and grouting in a bathroom, or fixing a door that isn't locking properly in a bedroom, putting in new molding and trim in a family room, putting in a new ceiling fan where there's currently just a fixture, cleaning up the garage, or putting in storage solutions in their garage. Home exterior and gutters, that kind of business is mainly more of a 9-month a year. So we're heading into a period now where we don't do so much of this, but certainly wood rot repair, putting in a new mailbox, putting in a pet door, fixing out external doors, awnings. There's a variety of things that we can do for our customers on the outside. We do a lot of work in kitchens. We do a lot of backsplash work. I'm not sure why that is, but we do a lot of different types of things for people in their kitchen. And then seasonal maintenance. And we are getting probably right now, I would say, no joke, 3 or 4 calls a day from people looking for us to put up their holiday lights on their home. So we're real busy doing that as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's a little bit about Mr. Handyman. And what are we specifically looking for? There's really 3 things. And the first thing that I mentioned is a variety of skills. So as I mentioned, our customers ask us to do a lot of different things. And so it's important to be able to do the main things that they ask us for. And about 80% of our work is covered by the 5 categories that I have listed here. The first one, probably the biggest one, being carpentry. And that could be anything from doing some framing to putting in trim, fixing a deck, fixing a fence, putting in a new door, repairing a window. It's different every day. But carpentry certainly is an important element of what we do. A second element is drywall repair, pretty straightforward. We also do some hanging and drywall, but most of what we do with drywall is repair jobs. Painting, both interior and exterior. We do minor electrical. That includes things that I like to think of as in front of the wall. So plugs, switches, dimmer switches, putting in new fixtures, putting in ceiling fans, things like that. Those are the kinds of things that are in front of the wall that we do. We generally do not get into behind the wall solutions for customers. So things that they might hire an electrician, a full-time electrician for example, would be if they build an extension and they want to run a new line from their box up into a new part of the home. So we would not do that. And then the last one, the fifth one, plumbing, is similar. We do things that are in front of the wall. So we put in faucets, vanities, we move toilets, we work on drains, we put in new disposals, things that you can get at relatively easy. If someone is looking to put water, get water to a part of the house where they don't currently have it, then they're probably going to be hiring a plumber to do a specialty job like that. So those are the main skills that we are looking for. That's not everything. Like I mentioned, that's about 80% of it, but we do tiling, we do concrete work, we do assembly and installation of shelving outside. There's a variety of other things that we do, but those are the main skills that we're looking for. And that's the first main thing we're looking for is a variety of technical skills. The second thing is to be able to provide a great customer experience. As I mentioned, that's very critical for us because we're very much a repeat business driven company. And it's important for us to have technicians who have strong communication skills with the customers. So when you think about it, a lot of times what happens when a contractor comes over is that there's one person in the home and they're letting in a total stranger in. Okay. And that stranger has to make them feel comfortable, not just that they're competent and can do the job, but that everything is fine and they'll be someone who they can relate to. And so that's sort of the second skill of those communication skills that are important. And then the last thing is we're looking for someone who's been doing it for a while, at least 5 years, sometimes 10 years of experience doing these types of jobs, and has professional experience doing it, in a commerce way, not just doing it in your home or for your sister, but having experience, having gone into people's homes, and from the beginning to the end, finishing a job. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so why would you be interested in Mr. Handyman? A couple of reasons. One is we're going to place you in situations where your skills shine. So if you have those skills, then you're going to have the opportunity to make those demonstrate what you can do. And that's a very satisfying experience for people to be able to have that. The second reason why you might want to do Mr. Handyman is that a lot of people who have handyman skills at one point or another strike out on their own and have their own business, which is a great way of doing it. Some people say that they don't want to do the selling and the marketing. They don't want to schedule the appointments. They don't want to answer the phones. They don't want to respond to the emails. They just want to do the work. And that's what we offer, is the opportunity to just do the work, to do the skills that I talked about earlier. We offer a competitive hourly wage. We have holiday and vacation day benefits. And lastly, we don't make you drive your vehicle from job to job. We actually provide it for you. We provide you with a van, and I pay for the gas and for the maintenance of that vehicle. And so that way you're not putting the wear and tear on your vehicle. It's on ours. Next slide, please. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we're very cognizant of COVID-19 and the situation out there. I would say probably a third of the time right now, one of the first questions out of a caller's mouth is, do you guys wear masks when you come and do the job? Okay. So you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be wearing masks. You have to have gloves where you can. You have to be wearing booties. And you have to practice 6 foot social distancing. We have customers who call us up and they'll say, okay, ring the doorbell, but I'm not going to let you into the house because the job is in the back deck. I'm going to point you around the deck and I'm going to stay on the phone with you and I'm going to walk you through exactly what I want you to do, but I don't want to come in within physical contact of you. So we're very cognizant of some of the issues right now that are going on in the environment. So next slide, please. So if you have any questions or are looking for more information, please get in touch with me. As I mentioned, I have one of the 5 franchises here in the Chicagoland area, but if you're in the west side or the southwest side or the far north suburbs or in the city, then I can refer you to the right Mr. Handyman franchise. So thanks again for spending your time with us here today, and I appreciate the opportunity very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Jeff. And with the conclusion of Jeff's presentation, we are actually going to transition into the Q&A session now. And so I just kind of want to give a brief overview and outline of how that process will work and what that will look like for all of you who are still on the call here today. What we will do primarily is I will go ahead and look through the chat box. I will identify any questions that were asked by any of the participants. If they are directed towards a specific employer, of course, I will pose that question for them to answer directly. If it's a general question that's directed towards all of the employers, how we will work that is we will start with the first presenter, which was Carpenters, and we'll work our way sequentially through the order of presentation that we had here today, ending with Mr. Handyman. And then in the event that we do not have any more participant questions and we still have time left available during the Q&A session, what I will do is just ask some kind of standard generalized questions, and how that will work is, again, we'll kind of work sequentially through the order of presentation. So I'll pose the question, the Carpenters will begin, we'll work our way again to the last presenter, which was Mr. Handyman. First question that I have here today is actually directed towards all of the employers, and this was actually received on the Illinois WorkNet Facebook page, and that is, do these companies hire felons? We can start with the Carpenters union, and then we can work our way through the list. Kina, are you available?
Again, we're an apprentice program. We don't hire apprentices. We do not do a background check, but we let all of our apprentices know, or all of our potential apprentices, applicants know that some of our contractors, depending, and I think HIRE360 said it, depending on where the job is, we have apprentices that work at the Federal Reserve building, that work at the airports. And the contractors, when they hire, they can do background checks. We do not. So it's possible to get into the trade with a background, but you might be limited as to what job sites you could work on. I encourage all of our applicants who have any kind of issue with a background to work as they're going through their apprenticeship on getting it expunged, getting that background, anything that can be expunged. You don't have to do that before you get into our program, but that's always something that you should be working to do. So.
Thank you so much, Kina. Caitlin with Walsh-Fluor.
Yes, yes, we do hire people with backgrounds. In fact, we do some programming with the Juvenile Detention Center. It was a little bit more robust prior to COVID, but we are very interested in working with people who have had records before and working forward and ensuring that they have opportunities in the future. So yeah, we definitely do. Walsh does.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. HIRE360, Anthony or Ashley?
Yes, and similar to what the council mentioned, it's going to depend, but I want to echo Kate's point. It's a great opportunity for those with a background. The recruiters at HIRE360 really encourage their candidates to let them know so that we can honestly just kind of move forward, help them through the process. And part of that job match that we focus on with candidates is making sure it's good for the employer and for the candidate on both ends. So those with a background, we wouldn't want to put them in a situation where they're not going to be successful. And so having an honest conversation is what that is, part of that process. But it's I've heard multiple times from our recruiters, from hiring managers, it's a great opportunity for those looking for a second chance.
And I also want to chime in. Thank you for saying that, Ashley. It's just very important. And that's what we do at HIRE360. We want to create that relationship with all our candidates to run through our program to make sure, again, that we're pointing you in the right directions. We do not want to set you up for failure. We want to set you up for success. So that's very important to make sure as Ashley mentioned, just being honest with your case manager. But me as a case manager, I just want you to know that I will work with you, and we do want you to succeed and not fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Ashley. Wesley with GAF.
Yes, so we don't hire as well, so we don't perform any background checks, but we do work with people and we train people of all backgrounds. We work with, veterans or even reentry. So that's not going to be stopping you for, with a career in roofing. But again, like Ashley and Mr. Green had said, it's about being honest up front about your situation and how we can navigate that and what employer is going to best fit you and your situation at that time.
Thank you so much, Wesley. And Jeff with Mr. Handyman.
I can speak for myself as far as the Mr. Handyman franchise go. It's not an automatic disqualification if you have a background, but each individual franchise makes their own call on that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. We will pivot back to a question that's actually directed towards a single employer, if you will. This is actually for Kina with the Carpenters Apprentice and Traineeship program. And this individual asks, a lot of carpenters don't have a high school diploma or GED. They don't speak English. How can they become carpenters? And I know you answered it in the chat box, Kina, but perhaps there might be other callers that this question might relate to.
We are one of the few apprentice programs that you don't actually have to have a high school diploma to get in. We accept a GED, of course, as I said, but we also accept 2 years of accredited high school study. So if anyone out there who attended at least 2 years of high school and wanted to send us a copy of their transcripts, email us a copy of their transcripts, we can let them know if they have already enough credits in order to apply to our program. I personally would encourage anybody to, if you didn't complete high school, to start working on that GED. It's going to be important to your future, even after you become a carpenter. So the other question that he asked was about the Social Security card. To get into our program, you just need proof that you can legally work in the United States, and you can have a TIN number and a letter from the Social Security Administration to prove that you are legally able to work here. So you would apply with that. As far as the language can definitely be a barrier. We have several instructors that speak Spanish. We have Spanish classes for our skill advancement program, but most of our apprentice classes are taught in English. A lot of our Spanish-speaking apprentices speak enough English to get by in almost all the classes, but I pointed out that we do have certification classes like scaffolding, OSHA, where there are specific requirements, that you have to fulfill in order to get that certification. So we work with our apprentices as much as we can to make sure that they can get a translator for some of our classes. They're, depending on some of the Spanish-speaking students in the class, and we encourage them to, put that particular English in their toolbox, so that, and a lot of our apprentices don't read necessarily English, but can speak in English. Can speak and understand English well enough. So it is a barrier if you cannot speak and understand English. But we do have a number of Spanish-speaking apprentices that make it through our program.
Thank you so much for that response, Kina. And I do, before we kind of pivot back to the next question that I have here, I just do want to reiterate that if anyone on the call does have any questions for any of the presenters here today, please feel free to enter those in the chat. You've got a prime opportunity to get your questions answered directly from representatives from each of these organizations. So please, I would implore you to take advantage of this opportunity and ask some good questions. They're here to answer those for you. The next question that I have is actually for the Walsh-Fluor team. This individual asks, do they have flaggers? This would be for Kate.
Yes, yeah, we do have flaggers. So there's a couple different opportunities for flagging positions. CTA themselves, as the owner of the project, actually employs flaggers for the trains that are going by. So there's opportunity with them. There's opportunity with Walsh-Fluor as the prime contractor. We also have flaggers on our staff. Excuse me. And then we also have a dedicated contractor who is solely performing flagging responsibilities on the project, in addition to other subcontractors who also have opportunities for flaggers on the project. So I encourage anybody who is interested in flagging to, apply with the project, but also if you're interested in any other aspect of working as a labor position outside of flagging, it's a really great opportunity as well. So just maybe kind of branch out, because a lot of people do focus on flagging. And so when there's a lot of candidates who are looking for a few positions, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So flagging is definitely a great opportunity to get your foot in the door, but also kind of expanding your skills. If you have the opportunity, I would also recommend that as well. But yes, there's plenty of opportunity on the project for flaggers.
Thank you so much for that response, Kate. The next question that I have is for Kina again, and this individual asks, I'm a union carpenter, but I want to become a union operator. Can you help me get in the apprenticeship? I guess more generally, we could probably pose the question as, if an individual is in a particular trade, how difficult is it for them to transition into perhaps another trade? Could you go ahead and elaborate maybe on that process, Kina?
So that's a good one. That's a good one. We just got a number of ex-plumbers into our apprenticeship program. We have apprentices that leave us and go to the operating engineers and to the electricians. A lot of times people will apply for whatever apprentice program is accepting applications when they find themselves at that point. And there's nothing wrong with that. The best thing to do, though, is to if you're in an apprenticeship program, to concentrate on that career while you're working, and start working your way toward the other apprentice program. For instance, the operating engineers might not be accepting applications right now, but there are requirements that would help you be a better candidate to be an operating engineer. So I would start working toward those. But also I would like to say that as much as possible, everybody should do their research. A lot of people and I hate putting that money up there. People see the money and they just want to go to the money. Almost all the trades pay very well. We're all very comparable. You really want to find the trade that, that's the right niche for you. A lot of times you don't know that. So it happens a lot where you'll get into an apprentice program and then you'll find out that, you want to go into something else. So we always encourage people, you got to do what you got to do. So you start doing your research for that particular trade and see what makes a good candidate for the operating engineers. And I think there are some things that you need to do, some qualifications that you need to have to be an operating engineer that you don't necessarily need to be a carpenter. So you start working on those and wait for them to start accepting applications. Or HIRE360 would be better to answer that, because they know exactly, how to, get into the operating engineers in the different apprentice programs.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kina. HIRE360, did you want to respond to that? Either Anthony or Ashley?
Just briefly, thank you very much for sharing that and handing that off, Ms. McAfee. So there are over possibly 30 to 35 different trades that people can get into. The first thing as Ms. McAfee said, I think it's important to kind of understand what trade you want to get into first. We were told by many of the apprenticeship programs that a good apprentice will, first of all, love what they're doing. So I think when you first get that established, that I really, really, really want to do this, that's your first step. And then I did say earlier also about, and then I believe, again, Ms. McAfee said, it's not for everybody. You got to understand that you're going to be on high platforms. You're going to be, if you're afraid of heights, that's something that you have to really consider. If you're afraid of heights, if you're afraid of being under, in crawl spaces, that's something you have to consider. So for starts, HIRE360, we can actually send you, if you, again, contact us, we can send you just a brief overview of all the different trades, about 30 trades that gives you just a highlight of what's required. Then I think that's from there that you could probably, that's a good start. First, understanding what you want to do, knowing what the industry actually asks of you to do, and then you can kind of make a decision from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that response, Anthony. This question is again directed towards Keno with the Carpenters. This individual asks, is the 9-week pre-apprenticeship for apprenticeship position currently open for carpenters?
So we are not accepting applications at this time. We are starting our 9-week pre-apprentice program based on the people who applied last year. We slowed down when the COVID, when the shutdown first started, but we've been back open with our classes since, since May. We just started running our pre-apprentice programs again with 10 students instead of 20, the 20 that we normally start with. So it's taking us longer to get through the number of students, the number of applicants who applied last year. So we're a little different also in that we don't rank. So everybody who passes our aptitude test will be invited to join a class. And we will open up again once everybody who applied already and passed the test has been invited to start the pre-apprentice class. So that's what we're working through that list right now. We do not have an anticipated opening date for for accepting applications into pre-apprenticeship next year. I suspect it'll be sometime next year, but I don't know when that date is. And again, it's related to how many people who have already applied and are waiting to start the class. So I refer everybody to that video, that how to apply video, because right now there are certain things that you should do to get ready. And the video kind of goes through that. You want to get that math together and you want to get physically fit. This is a time where you want to start getting ready for that, because our pre-apprentice programs are kind of like a boot camp. So we really expect a lot. We really put people through because we want you to be successful. You know, it's not just about, you know, feeding people out there that are not going to be successful. So it's like a boot camp. So there's things that you need to do to get ready. And one of those involves contacting a local union to get on their waiting list. That does two things. It gets you on the waiting list for the local union. And when we get ready to accept applications, we contact the locals and they start contacting the people on the list. So one of the requirements is that referral letter from a local. So if you get on the list of the local, you'll be contacted by that local. And that's how you'll know when we're accepting applications. And that's how you get that referral letter. The other thing is, thank goodness for Walsh and our contractors again. For our program, you can be sponsored by a contractor into the apprentice program. We're slowing that down as well because, again, you know, the COVID and all of the restrictions that we're having as well. But that's one other way to get into the apprentice program if there's a contractor that's willing to sponsor you with credit. So again, that is also on that video. So our website, www.chicap.org, CHICAP.org. And the video is the career path video under apprentice program. So you click on apprentice program and kind of watch that video, and it kind of gives you the step-by-step for how to get started with the pre-apprentice program, which, like I said, hopefully we'll be accepting applications sometime next year, but don't know when.
Hey Daniel, this is Anthony Green. I hope you don't mind me just interjecting real fast because Ms. McAfee did touch on something real interesting. It's just really urgent that we get into our participants' minds that it's important for them to go ahead and start rededicating themselves to learning about math and reading. When I look at the aptitude test, unfortunately, many of our participants aren't prepared for it because many of us haven't seen it in 5 years, or some of us haven't even seen it in 10 years. I had to take the aptitude test myself. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it was many, many, many years before I seen some of those things on the test. So I just want to leave everybody with this. You can go to YouTube. You can go to some math exercise classes on YouTube, basic math exercises, maybe 8th grade math, 9th grade math, please revisit that. We mentioned it about decimals and fractions, and those are the main things that are on the aptitude test, multiplying fractions, dividing fractions, decimals, and things like that, adding decimals. There's a lot of fractions on there. So I'm giving everybody a precursor, so to speak, of what I need and would like for everybody to do is go ahead and brush up on those math skills. And there's not too many people that love math, but unfortunately, to get into these apprenticeship programs, they do require that you take the aptitude test. So how do you prepare for it? Let's go ahead and start studying right now. Start going to YouTube right now. And even if you have to go to the library right now, it's time to go ahead and get you a 9th grade or 8th grade math book, 9th grade, 8th grade reading book, comprehend, and please just go ahead and revisit it. There's nothing wrong with trying to tighten up your skills, but the barriers out there is when you do take those tests and you're not prepared for it, that's when you're setting yourself up for failure. And thank you for letting me say that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Anthony. And that's a great point that he brings up. There's a plethora of, free resources that are available to you out there to be able to brush up on those skills and be prepared for any of the testing that you might encounter. So thank you for that, Anthony, much appreciated. The next question that I have is actually directed towards Jeff with Mr. Handyman. This is a fairly simple, straightforward question. This individual asks, is Mr. Handyman a union shop?
Again, it depends on the franchise. It's up to each individual franchise. But as far as my franchise goes, we currently don't have any union employees. That's how it's come out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. And I do also want to mention, per the Northside American Job Center team, if you do have any questions or you do want to forward a resume along for anybody here that presented here today, please feel free to email that to Tracy, and she will provide that contact info in the chat section for you to be able to, like I said, follow up with any questions that you have, submit resumes, so on and so forth. So a question that I have kind of more generally speaking, and this will actually be directed towards each of the presenters here today, is how can a candidate stand out and get an interview assuming they are qualified for either, a position that you have available or, an apprenticeship or a training program? We'll start with the Carpenters, and then again, we'll end with Mr. Handyman. So Kina?
Yes, so Mr. Green there brought up some of the biggest things. Being able to pass the test. Again, we don't rank, so you just need to pass our test. There are some other things on there, like paper folding. HIRE360, please speak to if you can train people on paper folding as well. We do have a little bit of paper folding, and it is online as well. One of our biggest barriers is, though, the physical fitness. To be a carpenter, to be a first-year apprentice carpenter, you're going to be expected to handle material. That's what they do. They handle material. Your goal is to supply all the journeymen, and the more advanced apprentices with as much material as possible until you can convince the contractor that they're wasting their time having you handle material. But it's very, very physical. And so if you can get fit, and I mean more respiratory, like you can, run up and down stairs without getting tired. All of our material is not really heavy, but it is a constant moving material kind of job as a first-year apprentice. So before you can move on to some of the more technical framing, installing hardware and things like that. So to get yourself ready, that's one thing. The other thing is our best carpenters are as good an employee as they are a mechanic, a good carpenter. That means, and I think 360 spoke about that, you cannot put too much emphasis on being available all the time for work. You get there before the foreman, you're never late. You can work anywhere in the area for that contractor. You can go anywhere for them. You're always first to stand up and get back to work after break and lunch. So a very good employee as well as a good carpenter. And that involves a lot. I don't want to put too much of an emphasis on it, but a lot of people, their personal lives get in the way of their work lives. So you have to address these things ahead of time. I can say, as a single mother, I have to have a backup babysitter for my backup babysitter. I have to have that ahead of time because things are going to come up and I have to be available to work. So again, a good employee, able to work with people, you know, really wanting to do the job. And for the trades, you got to have a little bit of that competitive spirit. If you're a competitive person and you want to be the best carpenter on the job, you want to be the standout person, that's the person that contractors are looking for. Again, I can't say enough about our union contractors, where the time that they have to complete a job is getting smaller and shorter and shorter and shorter. What they need are reliable employees. You don't have to be, I mean, it's good to be the finest craftsman or woman on the job site. But if you're a very good employee, you'll learn that. And if you're a competitive person, you'll learn that. So being a good employee and being, being available and prepared for work is probably really a big deal for us. We are a training program. We train people. We don't expect you to know things when you come to us. But we expect you to work hard and try to be at the top of the class all the time. That's what, is going to make you more successful.
And if I could speak really quick, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Maria. I'm also one of the recruiters here at HIRE360. Just kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of what Kina just spoke about. HIRE360 will definitely help you prepare you for the aptitude test with the paper folding, the math, the English, the reading, all that. We do that through our test prep. Once you sign up, through complete an assessment form, attend an orientation, you are connected with one of the case managers, and then we will sign you up to be a part of the test prep classes that HIRE360 offers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anna. Next, we have the Walsh-Fluor team. Caitlin, can you respond to that question as well?
Sure. I think I would like to just echo everything that Kina just said. I think as a contractor, something that happens often in the trades, because it is what we call a lucrative job, you get paid pretty well right off the bat. And so a lot of people will show up for the first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they'll get these nice fat checks. And then afterwards, like, my work is done here. I have all this fat cash. I don't need to stay. But that really causes a problem for a contractor, because we need to rely on our people to be there and to be productive. And so it's really important for you to make a commitment. And I think loyalty is something that goes very far in the construction industry. Showing up for work. One of our supers always say, if you're on time, you're already late. You should be there early. If the shift starts at 7, you need to be there at 6:30. You just need to be there and prepared to work immediately upon start. So that's one, but also they expect to have a learning aptitude, a learning spirit, I guess, because they know as an apprentice, if you're coming into a project, you don't know what to do. You're there to learn. And so they know that, but you need to have the posture of wanting to learn your craft. And so listening and taking direction and knowing your place on the crew is very key. But then last and most importantly is having that commitment to starting a job and finishing a job. If you do that in the construction industry, what happens is your name gets around. And so if you're a great apprentice and you work really well for one of the supers, if that job ends, they tell their other super friends, hey, I had this really great apprentice and they performed very well. You would be really lucky to have them. And then what happens is you establish this presence for yourself, and then you get moved from project to project, because everyone knows construction is kind of an ebb and flow. It's a little bit of a roller coaster. Winter is usually a downtime, spring picks up, summer's crazy, and then you go back down. And so it's always kind of a competition, as Kina said, to be the best. And so if you can establish that presence for yourself on the project, you will go very far, because the supers will vie for you. They'll be like, I want them, I want them. So you need to be able to kind of establish yourself as a reliable individual on a team who's willing to learn, who's willing to be there, and who's committed to finishing the job that they started. And you'll go very far in construction if you're that individual.
Thank you so much for that thorough response, Kate. Anthony, I know Anna already kind of gave a brief response, but I didn't know if there was anything that you'd perhaps like to add.
Yes, thank you. I would like to add, first of all, I did put some information about the paper folding application. Many people don't know this, but you can put a paper folding application on your cell phone. And I put the information on in the chat area. It's called Unfolded, UNFOLDIT.com. You can put that on your cell phone and practice all day long on that. And that gives you just the feeling of what the paper folding is about. Secondly, I'll just be real brief. I'm so grateful for everybody this morning that they talked about the industry. It is very important about reputation. You just got to have a good reputation in this industry, because your name will get around, like Kate said. Then also Ms. McAfee said again, you have to be willing to make sure that you have that work attitude. You almost got to have an attitude that I cannot miss a day, because that's what this industry is about. We depend on one another to get things done. And last but not least, for me, one of my pet peeves is interviewing. I mentioned that in my presentation, but I see such a barrier of us not being able to present ourselves, selling ourselves, that I'm the best person for this job. No matter what your resume looks like, first of all, you do have to have a good, bona fide, qualified resume. But even with the resume being a qualified resume, when you sit in front of that employer, and if you can't sell yourself and tell that person, I'm the best person for this job, then, like one of my questions I always tell my clients, I ask them the question, why should I hire you? Now, here's the $100,000 question. If you can't answer that question, why should I hire you? Me as an employer is going to say, why should I hire you? So it's all about being able to sell yourself, being confident. And that's the very, very most important thing I want to share with everybody on this phone call today. You must be able to learn how to practice interviewing. You can't be shy about it. One of my employer almost 20 years ago, he told me two things. He said, Anthony, the best time to brag on yourself is on your resume and when you have an interview. So if you can't brag on yourself, how do that person know your skill set? So you have to be able to go there and be confident enough to tell them that you're the best person for the job. And so that's just very important with me that I can share with you all today. Just be confident when you get on those interviews, and then basically learn how to interview. That's very important.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Anthony. Next up for the question is GAF Roofing Academy. Wesley, would you like to answer that question as well?
Yeah, I think all the presenters covered a lot of good things and essential things. The only thing I would add is, not only being a team player and showing up every day 100%. I think willing to always involve yourself in continuous learning. So not having your mindset that, this is all I'm going to do, this is what I'm doing. So always be willing to learn or jump in and try new things. Or if your employer says, hey, I have this opportunity for you to, do this different task, take it on, right? Learn some leadership skills or some different things to add to your resume. And I also say integrity is another big one. People with our business or in many construction industries, they're trusting people with their homes or their businesses, with their personal things. So just realizing that, always making the best choices for your team, your company, and also for your customer, I think is huge, and really goes far. It shows a lot of people will trust you and trust you not only with their jobs, but also with new tasks or new roles that you might be the first person that person thinks about next time. So that's the only thing I would add to that.
Thank you for your response, Wesley. And Mr. Handyman with Jeff, would you like to answer that question as well, sir?
Sure. Just to echo some of the points that Kate and Anthony were making, I think preparation is critical. I'm looking for someone who is going to show up to a job with a customer who knows what that job is in advance, understands it, read it in advance, and has the tools and the equipment and materials that they need to do the job before they get there. And one of the ways that I look for that in the recruiting process is this person prepared for the interview? have they taken the time to go online, check out my website, and learn a little bit more about my company? If they ask me during the interview, they say, "Oh, do you guys do electrical?" To me, that means they haven't taken the time to do that before. Where if someone says, I see you guys do electrical, what kinds of electrical work do you do? I'm like, okay, they've taken the effort to prepare for this interview, and hopefully that means that they're going to prepare for the jobs that they do down the line.
Thank you so much for that, Jeff. And at this point in time, I think it would be appropriate to kind of wrap up the Q&A session with a couple minutes to go here before noon. I do just want to, thank all of the presenters here today. I also want to thank all of the participants. A lot of great questions, a lot of great information that was put out there for anyone that'll be viewing this, potentially at a later date. I do want to mention that this session has been recorded and it will be uploaded to the Illinois WorkNet YouTube channel later today. And then a link to that video will actually be uploaded to each of the respective employer booths for each of the presenters here as well today. With that, I'd like to pass it back over to the Northside American Job Center. Tracy, are there any sort of concluding remarks or summary statements that you'd like to make about today's session?
I just want to thank all of the participants here today that took the time to participate in this Construction Works event. We will be working with these partners and on an ongoing basis, and there will be future opportunities both now and in the future that you can apply to. We can offer you several services through our organization free of charge. So please contact myself or Laura should you have any further questions or really be looking to get into any of these programs that we presented today.